Waking Up Singapore. Gotta get up. The Big Show on Kiss 92. Gotta get up.
Good morning and welcome to Therapy Tuesday. We have with us our award-winning psychologist, Dr. Geraldine Tan from the Therapy Room. Good morning, Jerry.
Good morning, and I'm not at the therapy room, but we are going to do something that is associated with therapy. We are at Yong An Active Hub at Bukit Merah, and we're going to do our biannual checkup, mental health checkup for the seniors.
Oh, nice.
Oh, very nice. Thank you for fitting us into your day. Okay, let's have a look at it when we go on the Big Show TV. But right now we are on radio, so we'd like to at least bring up the topic that we're talking about today, which is male chauvinism or the manosphere.
So manosphere just proves that all men are round.
Yes.
Kind of.
Yes.
Yeah. So Angel was listening to something. Angel was listening to a radio show or something, and you forwarded this article to me, which was very dark. So it's about this guy, Andrew Tate, and about Manosphere. And Manosphere is an online platform where they have communities that really just put down women, and they are very misogynistic, very prejudiced against women, and they encourage. They appear to be discussing about it, but it is very, very dark. So I think from those that have been in there, they have mentioned, from reports. I didn't dare go into it, but it was. Yeah, it made me, start to reflect and think whether, it's what makes it so enticing, and how different it is from our patriarchal society, from the MCP. I grew up. I'm not sure whether the young ones know this acronym or not. The Male Chauvinist Pig.
Okay, I tell you what, let's go on the Big Show TV right now. The music just needed to play. We're on the Big Show TV now, and I just want to follow up with what you were talking about, just to give everyone a little backstory about Andrew Tate. Now, he's only 37 years old. He is an American and British social media personality who has amassed over 9 million followers on X alone.
Wow.
So you can imagine his YouTube, his Instagram and anything. He has been called the king of toxic masculinity. So he really embodies and advocates and encourages whoever follows him to be women haters. And a lot of these female haters are teenage boys, which I think is the scariest part of the entire thing, because they're so easily influenced.
They're so easily led.
They're so easily led. And this fairly attractive looking influencer, has created this whole world out of women hating. So to them, it's like something that they can be as well. And I think it's absolutely awful.
Yeah, it is. But let me just transit in, and I want to show you.
Yeah, you can go.
The very guy. He's a bit shy, but yes, he was ensuring that everything was safe here, and now I can go in. So have a look. This is Yong An Care Center, and we are entering. I'm going to go in. The team is not here yet. So yes, this guy is very charismatic. I think if you actually look at you look at his photos, you look at his demeanor. Even when he was caught, he was very, very cool about the whole thing, which sometimes helps people to perceive that he's got it in control. He has everything together.
He's successful. He's worth he's a multi-millionaire.
Yeah.
No, but Angel said that he's beginning to attract teenagers. One would think that with
Yes.
everything else that's happening on social media, it's the one thing that wouldn't attract teenagers. Because we hear of all the political correctness, we hear of all this stuff, and this is going completely against the grain.
No, but there are a lot of teenagers that don't have direction, that need someone to follow, that need a mentor. And it's very easy to get sucked into someone like this. Like Dr. Jerry said, very, very charismatic, very successful, rich, popular. Like every teen boy wants to be that, just about, especially when you don't have direction.
We're the parents.
Yeah, some of them don't have parents.
Yeah, I guess.
So it attracts a couple of types. Again, these are perspectives from different individuals, but many of these individuals agree that many of the boys or men that go on these communities have suffered quite bitter sort of rejection and quite numerous sort of rejection. Yeah, so they also, I think we were talking about, that sense of community, and they need validation. So many of them are rather insecure.
Yeah.
Okay, we can say they're insecure. We can say they want validation. How much of it really boils down to just revenge? I've been hurt by women. This is my chance to get back.
So I was just reading an article here. It says many men or boys are drawn to the manosphere through romantic rejection and frustration, as well as feelings of masculine inadequacy and loneliness and low self-esteem. And much of it is...
Interestingly,
they're saying that, it's not just confined to the dark corners of the internet. It's also like mainstream social media, where a lot of these individuals are overflowing with rage towards women for prioritizing their careers instead of being kept little wives.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ouch.
It's so painful. It's so archaic, and it's to someone like you as well, Dr. Jerry, and to me, I get very angry when I read stuff like this.
Yeah, so I was quite eager to hear your opinion also, because it was so nauseating and so disgusting, but I suppose we need to also comprehend from that point of view, because on the communities itself, or within the communities itself, they don't just have the weak guys. They even divide themselves into what they call the alphas and the betas. So the alphas are like Andrew, very confident, very assertive, very go-getting. And then there are the betas. The betas are the submissive, the ones that are less successful and prone to rejection even.
So these are the groups within the group.
The groups within the group, yes.
Cheyenne, you were nodding. Were you agreeing with Dr. Jerry? Can you just share that? You have like 40 seconds.
I mean, I have interacted with people like this online and in person before.
Okay.
I think also they have another one called Sigma or something like that. It's I think it's a lot of these men also can be found on 4chan, on Reddit, a lot of forum sites, and a lot of it also, they also call themselves incels, involuntarily celibate. So
Yes,
they are very
incels.
angry, very angry at women because they are unable to get into relationships or form intimate connections with women.
Involuntarily celibate,
Hang
not
on,
by
go back.
choice. Okay,
by
we're
choice.
going. Well, let's go for traffic and then we go on air.
Kiss 92 traffic.
A couple of situations as you're out there on the KJE towards the PIE. A vehicle's broken down after the Chua Chu Kang Drive exit. Avoid lane 5. Another breakdown on Bukit Panjang Road. This is right after Bukit Panjang Ring Road heading towards Pending Road. Avoid the left lane. A vehicle's broken down there. And finally on the PIE towards the airport. An accident after Lornie Road is causing quite a bit of backup. Avoid lane 1. Update us if you spot anything. It's 8855 0920. We are back on The Big Show with Angel and the Flying Dutchman, as well as our guest every Tuesday. It is Dr. Geraldine Tan of the Therapy Room, who is on location right now because she's got some very important work to do. Can you tell us where you are?
I'm at Yong En Yong En Active Hub at Bukit Merah. Yes, and we are going to do the mental health checkup for seniors. Now, if the seniors can do the mental health checkup, all of you can do your mental health checkup.
Oh,
just
nice.
like your dental health.
Well, we get our mental health checkup with you every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday.
So we're lucky that way. And whoever's watching is lucky that way as well. So, Dr. Jerry, we were just talking about Andrew Tate, the Manosphere, anti-feminism, misogyny.
I'm trying to come to grips with this. Involuntary celibacy. They can't get into relationships. They feel let down by women. I'm sure they feel ignored with females in society. Is that where it starts? Or does it start earlier in life with issues they have with mom, with their sisters?
So those that get into this whole sphere, pun intended, is really those that are insecure. Some of them have trauma, some of them looking for a role model. But I also realized one thing as I was reading, and I'm not here to diagnose anyone, but some of these people may have narcissistic personality disorder. We're talking about the alphas here. Yeah. So if, I couldn't do this topic without looking at Andrew Tate because he really, pushed this whole concept and idea forward. So, I had to go and read articles and bear in mind, I don't know him at all. And I had to look at his childhood.
Yeah.
So his parents divorced when he was very young, I think. Yeah, his brother, he has a younger brother and a younger sister. He's not in touch with the younger sister now. So parents divorced. Mom took the two boys, the two older one, back to her home country. Mom is British, and they stayed in a space that was very violent. And he grew up in a very so the environment itself had violence. The women in his family were very successful. They were very accomplished in whatever that they did. They were lawyers. Grandma owned a trucking company, if I'm not wrong. Bear in mind, all these are based on articles, yeah? And apparently, his grandfather belted the children.
Belted the two boys.
Yes, and maybe the cousins, I'm not quite sure. So it became quite normal in the family. Now, we don't know at which point he started to push back or he had his thoughts about wanting to put women down. I don't know. We really, really don't know. Yeah. But,
Okay. Let's go back. Let's go on to the Big Show TV and talk about this more. I think FD has a question.
Yeah.
Join us on Facebook and YouTube at Kiss92. The time right now is 8:13.
Kiss 92 Time Check brought to you by Boutique.
Yeah, I'm just listening to this story of, husband, wife, and two boys. There's the breakup of the marriage. The two boys go with the mom.
The girl stays with the dad, I'm assuming.
And the boys go through this punishment of being belted by the grandfather, blah, blah, blah.
Being surrounded by successful women.
Being surrounded by successful women. And with the belting, you get the feeling that you can't live up to what the rest...
You're not good enough.
You're not good enough. Could this have all started because he ended up blaming his mother
for putting them in that situation?
We were fine when we had mum and dad. Now you've put me in this situation. What kind of woman are you? Could that have been the problem?
It could be. The articles never explicitly say, yeah, but being surrounded by all that successful people.
Should be
Andrew
motivating,
said-
shouldn't it? Should be
Yeah,
encouraging, right?
His own father is actually a very brilliant person, and very intelligent. And Andrew himself is a very intelligent person. So he and his brother, Andrew and Tristan, are both very intelligent people, which also helps us to understand how come they are able to navigate so many different, intellectual platforms, and they have started so many different organizations, not all of them good.
Yeah, I was just looking at his Wikipedia, and obviously Wikipedia you got to take with a pinch of salt, but that shows no sort of personal life in terms of a partner for Andrew. But I'm just wondering, I mean, there are women that end up with narcissistic, obsessive, abusive men who are, very alpha, who are very misogynistic. But is there a certain type of woman that ends up with a man like that? And I feel for them because, that there are so many things that people could call them. But I mean, I know that they're also scared at the same time. So what kind of woman, if there is a stereotype, would be attracted to a man like this? I know they can be very manipulative, these men, right?
Yes. So this descriptor is usually used with them. For the women, you would hear what how they describe, like the women needs to be subservient. They need to just listen. However, I'm not sure whether they can last long or not. These sort of personalities, as in this sort of male personalities, are very exciting and very thrilling to be with. But we don't know whether they can last in a committed long-term relationship with the opposite sex because of their hatred, because of their own prejudice towards them. Yeah.
How do parents stop their kids? I know you always say communication is key, but how do parents prevent their little boys from becoming monsters like Andrew Tate?
I don't think they knew they were creating a monster. Honestly, I don't think Andrew's parents realized.
No, of course not.
it. Yeah. I mean, if you hear how, let me see. We always say that communication is key. And why is it a key? Because if you hear some of the teen boys and why they gravitate towards Andrew, it's because he is a role model. So that already provides us a clue. So father as a role model is something I always advocate for. Fathers, mothers as role models, because we showcase to them how we manage society or how we treat people. And we treat people with kindness, with love. They learn. They might question. They might, because they have, they go through the teenage phase and they say, why would you want to do that? I've got teens questioning. Like, if someone is asking for money, why would I want to give? It's my money. Why would I want to give someone that I don't know, a stranger? And then that's a teachable moment that we can talk to them about it, if that is your values, or part of your values. So the other thing is fear. So fear is something that is very prevalent in their community. So in the Manosphere community, the fear of losing, the fear of being weak, and therefore you cannot get a job, being rejected, being, and only by doing certain things I can that they advocate in the communities that they can gain success. So they become very worried or very scared to deviate from whatever the community advocates for. So the fear of not being a success, but they don't know what success actually means to them. No one actually told them. They have only been told inflexibly an idea of what lack of success means.
I think parents need to really, really listen, and teachers, caregivers, babysitters, whatever it is. If you have boys, girls under your care, you really need to know what's going on outside of that. Because if I were to walk in to my son's room and he was watching Andrew Tate and I didn't know who Andrew Tate was, and he had his headphones on, I would see a
wouldn't know.
good-looking guy who looked
Exactly.
successful, who had a good number of followers, and I'd be like, okay, he's listening to some self-help, self-improvement, something. But you need to know visually and, socially who these people are.
And parents these days don't have a whole lot of time for that. Let's be honest. I mean, I'm not defending the parent, but it's getting tougher and tougher.
Yeah. Okay. Wait. Let's go to traffic, and then after you
I've
can
got
come
it.
up with
I've
your
got
question.
something. Yeah.
Kiss 92 traffic.
Just one stretch of road you need to pay attention to is on the AYE towards the MCE. Right before the PIE exit, an accident was just reported. Please avoid lane 4 if you can't avoid that stretch. And wherever you are this morning, stay safe. We are on The Big Show with Dr. Geraldine Tan of the Therapy Room, who is on location right now. And we're just speaking about something very important. So if you're a parent that's just dropped off your kid at school, or if you're even an educator or a caregiver, you need to know about this person that's named Andrew Tate, who actually started this whole misogynistic world that's called the Manosphere. And a lot of teenage boys in particular, are beginning to look up to this individual as a sense of inspiration and motivation. So just a fair warning that if you do see the name Andrew Tate or his content anywhere in your house, you need to work on it and get rid of it.
Yeah, I think so. A couple of questions. One is from me. The other is from our Facebook page. We'll start with mine. You deal a lot with teenagers. Do you see any of these tendencies growing in Singapore? Without mentioning names, of course, obviously.
They have not come forward in my space, let's put it this way. So I would not know whether it is taken Singapore, by storm yet. But I do know in other countries, yes, they do identify, with what he is saying. And why is so enticing is actually because it was a space to talk about men's rights, to talk about men's interests, and also to criticize, to critique, actually, not criticize, but to critique feminism. So it's just like, I'm not sure, in the 70s, 80s, I think, or 60s, feminism was really being very, very, very loud during that period of time, and people were talking about it. I assume that this is also a space for them to come together to talk about issues like that. But
There's nothing wrong with spaces to speak about
it.
issues.
No.
Yeah.
But I've got to say that even I have friends who feel that there are certain... Okay, as women's rights grow, I have friends who feel
Men's
that
rights
men's
lessen.
don't lessen. They are not given enough attention.
But there's so much space for everything. You know what I mean?
But they don't see that.
I feel people think
They don't see
things are finite when they're not.
Yes.
The world is so infinite. There's so much space for everyone's likes, dislikes, opinions. But people don't get that.
No, I think that's a major problem. So,
But absolutely, what FD said is absolutely right, because these are some things or this is one point that some of the teens actually highlighted. They feel they don't have enough of a space, they don't have enough of a voice because feminism is too strong. And they feel like they need to reclaim their position.
So what can we do about that, Jerry?
So I think, if I can jump in, you said there's no space to voice their thoughts and stuff. I also think there's no one out there that wants to listen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You need an interested audience. And of course the space, I feel the space will come, and then the thoughts and voices will come as well. But you need the demand before you can supply it.
Yeah, if
You know
you've
what I
ever
mean?
been caught in that space, I don't know whether Jerry will agree with this. If I feel I have a problem with my man's rights, right?
Yeah.
They're not getting enough attention. If I go to a woman, the thought is she's filled with feminism.
Yeah.
So I can't talk to her. So I go to my male friends and they go, just man up.
Yes, yeah. Be a man.
Yeah. So, and then the whole conversation, there's no
That's it.
conversation to be
No,
had.
and that's the end of the conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go on to the Big Show TV and speak more about man's rights. Here is Cyril featuring Kita Alexander with True on Kiss 92. So, Dr. Jerry, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's who is listening to the guys, right? And I think it's not that they don't feel hurt, but now they feel they're questioning, is there an inequality? For example,
Wow. How
we
the
had,
tides have turned.
Yeah.
yes. You know, I was having a conversation with my teen son, right? And or it was just in a conversation, and we were talking about something, and the women's charter came up. And he asked, how come there's a women's charter, there's not a men's charter? And how come the women's charter is so strong? They give everything to the woman. So
What did you say?
He asked that question. I didn't really have an answer for him, actually. Yeah, so in truth, although it was a teachable moment, you know, most of the policies are geared towards men.
women, the men,
And
yeah.
towards men. So only the Women's Charter has been carved out and placed there to help the women. So, I mean, that was as best as I could say. I mean, if anybody else has a different way of positioning it or a different perspective, I would love to hear about it too.
I think because for decades and generations and centuries even, women have always been the fairer sex. Women have always been the weaker gender. You know, so all these sort of women's charters and women's rights and all that were all put in place because women needed a voice and women didn't have a voice.
Yeah.
Women were the subservient
Of course.
sex for the longest time.
You
right?
stay at home, make babies, darn socks, and cook food.
So you know what? I say to the men who are feeling a little bit, I feel a little bit squished now. I feel a little bit like unheard and all that. Well, good for you. You know what? Because women, for the longest time, felt like that.
But it's a comment like that
Yeah.
that sparks an Andrew Tate.
Yeah, but the thing is, you see, I think there's a balance. I'm not going to say, okay, because for generations women suffered and all that. I didn't live in that generation. You know, I don't suffer that lack of women's rights and stuff. If everyone can just balance it out, because there is enough space to speak about it. I don't know about the men's charter. As you said, a lot of things are already skewed to men. The
Right.
women's charter, a lot has to do with also children that they have, making sure that the children stay with the mother, because as maternally, that's usually the way it goes. So I think mostly the
Yeah.
women's charter is based on her being a mom, amongst other things. But yeah, I think that's why these men are just kind of like, they're feeling a little less heard now.
Yeah.
Because women's voices are so powerful.
Very strong.
You know?
They're very strong.
But interestingly, that's how they perceive, right? But
Yeah.
many of our societies are still patriarchal societies. So
Yeah.
how the feminism come about is because we are all mostly in patriarchal societies. And in patriarchal societies, women are collectively excluded from political, social, and economic positions of power. So they are less equal. So feminism came up so because they believe in the full social, economic, and political equality for women. So that's how it came up. But
Yeah.
now there seems to be that reverse where the men perceive that although they are in a patriarchal society, actually we are still in a patriarchal society, they still feel like not enough is being done for the men. So
Yeah.
But
I don't know. FD, what do you think?
Jerry, I think if you went into Orchard Road and you picked out 20 men, 18 men will tell you that this is not a patriarchal society anymore.
No.
Because we don't
I
feel
think it is, though.
We don't feel it.
It's still the father and the grandfather. I think it still is.
I think the average man doesn't feel it.
In Singapore.
Yeah.
Interestingly, because this is something that I said, in conversation before, and I always say, how come the woman has to take on the husband's surname? So if you see my name is still my maiden name. I did not take on my husband's surname.
Same.
But interestingly, my surname belongs to my dad. So it's still a male's surname that is passed on to a female.
Yeah.
But that's going back a long, long ways. That is more tradition than anything else. You take, for example, my daughter who got married in Australia. Her husband took on Van Cuylenberg.
Yeah, but things are changing.
It's different,
even in Singapore, they're having double-barrel
They're
names
having
for
double-barrel
their
names.
kids and all. But I just want to point out something that you said, because you said women's rights, and then you said equal rights, and then men are not feeling they have enough rights, or they're not feeling as heard. Women have always fought for women's rights to become equal rights with men. Not
Yes.
to become better than, not to climb further or higher. All women wanted to do in the past was to come up to that same
Absolutely.
level. I think what's
Yes.
happening now is that, okay, it's fine if you've gone a little bit higher than men and all that. It's fine. I think all it needs now is just that balance and people realizing that women are not, and I'm not a feminist, women are not asking to be better than. Women are just asking to have the same voice that men are given. And men should now, if they feel squished and squashed or whatever they feel, should also say, I want to be heard just as much as the women. That's all it is. Not more than, not louder than. I don't think it's about that, because then it becomes too noisy.
I agree with you, but it's the feeling on the street,
Yeah.
which is very different.
That would be very cool to actually do a consensus on the
Yeah.
street. Traffic, and then we go on there.
Kiss 92 traffic.
If you happen to be on the PIE heading towards the airport, a vehicle's broken down right after Eng Neo Avenue and causing a backup to Jalan Anak Bukit. Avoid lane 4. If you spot anything as you're making your way out there, please WhatsApp us 885550 We are on The Big Show and The Big Show TV with Dr. Geraldine Tan, speaking about something that's getting quite a bit of conversation going between men's rights, women's rights, equal rights. Is there a difference? Is it all the same thing? Is it just human rights?
No. So feminism never wanted to put down people.
No.
Yeah, but for the manosphere in these communities, they actually have a prejudice against women.
You're right,
And
yeah.
they want to inculcate hatred towards the other gender. And they demean the other gender. And it's being interpreted and reinterpreted by our teenagers. And one of the articles stated, in Australia actually, the students actually had a spreadsheet that ranked girls using sexist and violent categories from wifeys to cuties to unrapeable, to rapeable and unrapeable.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
What? Oh my gosh.
So it's beyond our pretty and cute and funny. It's not about that anymore, which makes it very dangerous. I mean, if you catch your teen son talking about women and objectifying women, that's when we need to sit them down and start talking to them, because everybody, it's not whether you're a man or woman, everybody needs to be respected. Everybody needs to be loved.
Everybody needs to be heard.
And when you speak about everybody
needs to be loved.
this whole manosphere is very pro-man in the fact that it's not just women they're hating on, they're also hating on non-binary as well. So it goes beyond the women.
Oh, yeah.
It's just that if you are not a man, you are not part of this
They're
world.
not part of this world. Yeah.
And that is a very,
It's-
very scary movement that's happening.
Couple of things, Jerry. Don't shoot the messenger. Gideon Hu is on our Facebook page, and he says, I think there's a need to be clear in distinction between feminism and woke feminism.
Wow.
Ooh.
That's something I have
Okay.
not encountered. I
I
won't
need
be.
the young ones to help me now.
Cheyenne,
Woke feminism?
what is the
Woke
difference
feminism.
between
Does anybody have a feel on that?
Cheyenne? I will go to Gen Z.
Yeah.
I mean, woke is technically the term that they use to describe anything to do with the social justice movement that is considered a bit too extreme.
Okay.
Considered a bit too extreme. I think sometimes feminism can be misinterpreted by people who are hearing things for the first time or hearing things from the wrong people who are a bit too extreme with things, and then they are immediately labeled like, oh, you're very woke, you're damn woke, so
Right.
I don't want to listen, I don't want to engage with what you are talking about.
Right.
It is what is typically used when people don't want to engage with the topic. So it's like, oh, you're being very woke, so I don't want to.
So it's like a full stop.
Yeah, it's like a full stop.
When they don't
It's-
understand.
When they don't understand, or they feel like the person is being too extreme, instead of engaging in conversation, it's usually something to like be like, oh, you're too woke, so I don't want to.
Okay.
I don't want to engage with it.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Dr. Jerry?
And I think Cheyenne already mentioned the word, they don't know, they don't understand. So if you don't know and you don't understand about something, don't talk about it.
Yeah.
It's not I wouldn't say that I'm an expert on Manosphere, but we know that we have a lot of work to do, so I didn't talk about it when we first spoke about it because I really didn't have enough information. But even when we are conversing today, I dare not commit because there's so many different components. Not only the Manosphere component in and of itself has different subgroups, and then you have feminism, you have patriarchal society, you have the male chauvinist, misogynist. There's so many different parts that needs us to define. So we cannot complete that really in this hour, and the conversations will go on.
Okay, Dr. Jerry, let's go on to the Big Show TV to continue this conversation. But I just want to say, like when I first heard about Manosphere and Andrew Tate, I actually found it extremely fascinating. And I will explain why on the Big Show TV. So join us there. Here is Imagine Dragons with Bones. So when I first read the article that I sent you, and then I found out about Andrew Tate, and I found out about Manosphere, I thought, okay, first up, so disgusting, so angry, so frustrating that there are people out there, but at the same time, so fascinating that someone can think the way he does and not employ, what do you call, how do you say when they gather all their whole like cult like it's like create this whole universe community where everyone just wants to listen. It made me want to dive even deeper to see what is wrong with this person and what is wrong with everybody who believes in this person. You know what I mean? So he gets that third most Googled name on the internet.
Yep.
He gets that
Yep.
popularity.
Yep.
He gets the hits on his
Yep.
videos and his X account just because people want to see what he's saying, even though they don't agree with it.
I mean, he has all that ingredients to be successful in all respect. And he can be very successful in a good way if he wants to. In our definition, by our definition,
Of
I
good,
think
right?
he thinks he's
Yeah.
successful in his definition, but he is intelligent, beyond intelligent. He sees things from more than one perspective, which is really, really fresh. He's extremely charismatic, and he is daring. He dares to take risks. He plunges head first. How many of us dare? So he takes on that character that maybe many young men want to be, even many women want to be. You know, he's loud and he's unabashed for his thoughts, his feelings. He will just share it. And here we are being so restricted and shy and worried about if we say something, will we offend anyone? He's unabashed. He just goes for the kill, literally and figuratively. So you know that becomes very exciting. That becomes thrilling, because it's like watching a thriller. How far can he go? Will he like go right to the edge, and what will he do at the edge? So
Yeah.
he is very exciting.
And that is probably what is enticing the teenager.
Yeah.
You know, it's the thrill,
Yeah.
right? So we said, you know, if you see anything Andrew Tate on your kid's computer, you've got to worry about, start worrying and do something about it. But assume I don't see Andrew Tate on my kid's computer. What signs am I looking for in a teenager?
Hate. So one big thing that I realized that many of these is, you know, they kind of look upon the opposite sex and they hate the other opposite sex. You know, they say, oh, why, you know, they should just go back to the kitchen, or they start saying things like that. They start having that stereotype. They start objectifying women, and they are not afraid of how old, so they disregard authority. So for example, it could be a teacher in school, it could be a female officer, you know, police officer. They don't give a damn. They will just go for it,
Okay,
even
Dr.
if they're
Jerry?
very, very young.
Hang on one sec, okay? We're going for weather and then we'll go back on air for the last time.
Failure and heart disease?
What risk factors cause prostate cancer?
Why do seconds count when it comes to a stroke?
Are mammograms really important?
And how do you manage sports injuries?
Find out all this and more every Wednesday.
8 a.m. for Good Morning Doctor.
Brought to you by Mount Elizabeth Hospitals. It's possible.
Kiss 92 weather.
Mostly cloudy day, says the weatherman. There is going to be there are going to be some isolated showers late morning through lunchtime, so look out for that. High temperature today, 29 degrees Celsius.
Kiss 92 weather brought to you by Mitsubishi Electric.
Okay, we're back on the Big Show TV. Dr. Jerry, just earlier you were talking about like how successful he is, how charismatic, this and that. Aren't these all ingredients that make a great cult leader? It's true though.
It's true.
No, you get the Mansons and the so and so's. They were all they could speak. They had the gift of the gab. They could pull everyone in, join them. You know, be the Pied Piper and follow along, kind of thing. That's what makes them so attractive.
Sure, it is. When I was reading about it, so no one actually called it a cult, but as I was reading about the different articles of Manosphere and the communities and what they say about him, it does feel like a cult. Yeah.
He was in remand for a while in Romania, I think, for rape charges and all sorts of assault and
Well,
Yeah.
oxygen thief. That's what I call them.
No, and it's not just Andrew Tate.
No.
It's also his brother Tristan.
Oh, Tristan's the same?
Yeah,
I haven't read about
Tristan is also very good looking. He's also very charismatic. Yeah, so you should see one looks. Both of them look really, really good. So they're very attractive in their
Oh,
own
wow.
ways.
Tristan is good looking.
And go back to what we said earlier. It was Tristan and Andrew who were taken with the mother out of a family unit.
It can't be coincidence that both of them turned out like that, right?
way.
You're right. I mean, these boys are so good looking. I say boys because they're in their 30s, right? And they could do so much good in our relative terms of good. I know they think they're doing good, but in our relative terms of, world peace and poverty and all that other stuff, they could do so much with it. Such a shame.
Yeah, but they genuinely feel like they are a voice. So in all the articles, they have never verbalized a shred of remorse at all. So they really perceive that whatever that they're doing is right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, and that's scary because there's a lot more destruction that goes into whatever that they do than positivity. But they can do so much. They are charismatic. They have all the great ingredients, and they are a voice.
Yeah.
They are a voice, and they can be a voice of good. But they chose to be a voice. I'm not sure. For themselves.
Yeah,
really.
it's hard to say because, like you said, they think they're doing good. So to say that they're not, because their world is that world, right? Is the manosphere, right?
Yeah.
But
Coming back to our teen boys, even our teen girls, it's not to disrespect either gender, but to really educate them on our abilities. So that's something that through the teenhood that we want to encourage them to have or to understand about themselves, their own abilities. What can they achieve? Each gender or each person can accomplish, and how we complement each other. I think that is the missing piece, that in all the communities, they pull apart this dichotomy of good and bad, of right and wrong, but they don't see and they don't explain how we can complement each other. So many people say, Jerry is a bit of a feminist. I am. I love to, in a very broad sense. I love to say that women can do a lot of things, but I also acknowledge that there are many things that women cannot do, and I'm glad to play the damsel in distress also.
Yeah, for sure.
Perfectly fine.
Yeah, and we give credit to men, women, whoever it is, who achieve success in whatever it is they do in the right ethical, legal way.
Yep.
Because what these boys are doing, I'm sorry, to me, is unethical.
Yep.
It's too far on one side to be any good. It doesn't. It's not balanced.
It's hurtful.
It's hurtful.
People.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Very sad. Anything from
I would just love to see these two boys sit down with a psychologist and then
They probably have.
then talk to the psychologist later about them.
a female psychologist.
No.
That's who I'd like them to sit down with.
No.
But I was just reading
See,
about
again you're cutting that division. It doesn't need to be that way. A psychologist should be neutral. Whether it's man or woman, it doesn't matter. But I want to find out about these people. I want to find out what caused this.
But I think
what created this.
I think FD is onto something about their whole upbringing and their whole
Absolutely.
the reason they ended up with their mom, not their mom particularly, but because you cannot blame the mother for taking
it's
them
the
away.
Situation.
The whole situation that added to the grandfather, the successful women. But having said that, there are a lot of other boys or girls that end up in exact same situations and don't turn out to be Andrew and Tristan Tates.
Maybe because deep down inside they're stronger than these two.
I don't know if it's is it down to weakness, Dr. Jerry? Can you say that?
I wouldn't say weakness. I would say so they play up on this word weak in the communities, but I would say insecure, low confidence, low self-esteem, and that's one thing that those that have exited these groups, they actually built up on their confidence and their own, self-esteem.
Confidence building. Yeah. Okay, let's go back on air for the final time. You're listening to Kiss 92, all the great songs in one place. It is Angel and the Flying Dutchman wrapping up with Dr. Geraldine Tan of the Therapy Room. Such an interesting conversation and so sad, and so I feel like emotionally drained after speaking about this whole manosphere and male chauvinistic pigs and
It's interesting the language that's been used, the stories we've told. Jerry, you have admitted to a degree you are a feminist. One last question. Is there really equality?
I would love to say that we are all equal in our eyes. If we only compare to ourselves, there's no inequality. But we need to build up on our abilities and not look to the other person and say, how come you've got more than me?
Yeah.
So and we start to put ourselves down, or we start to be jealous of the other person. There's no need to, right? So, inequality perhaps is also driven by our insecurity, our fears that we are not good enough, and understanding that each of us are precious and good for ourselves is very, very important. Yeah. So starting from that point, and parents help us to see that I'm good enough for me. So sometimes parents might forget, and in truth, sometimes, I might slip also, just because I'm in the community and we are really running the rat race. But then we come back and we remind our children, you are good enough. Now let's look at the behavior, let's look at what else we can learn. So everything becomes a learning process or a teachable moment.
Yeah.
Nice.
And don't waste so much time looking at others. Just concentrate and focus on yourself. A lot of people spend too much time seeing what others have and they don't realize what they have.
When you look over, someone else's shoulder, you forget what is right in front of you.
Yeah, Mol has come on our Facebook page and said there should be equity, not equality. Interesting.
Any final words, Dr. Jerry?
Yes, I'm going to go off my page.
Ooh. Okay. I think that's the end of Dr. Jerry for today. We'll see her again next week. Thanks so much for tuning in. You can always head to our Facebook. Oh, there she is.
She's
You're back just in time.
I'm here. No. I was going off. I was going to pick something from Martin Luther King.
Oh.
But because I'm on my phone, I have to go off.
You can't do that.
But it's okay. I can't do that. So watch out for the infographics that will come out at the end of the week.
No
Okay.
problem. No
What Martin
problem.
Luther King says.
No problem, Dr. Jerry. That's what happens when you're on location. But thank you so much for joining us.
No
Have
worries.
a fabulous day with your mental wellness day that you're going to be conducting. And we'll see you next week.
See you next week. Bye.
Take care, Jerry.
Have a
Bye-bye.
good one. Here's Louis
Bye-bye.
Capaldi with Forget Me on Kiss 92.